Hi, my name is Amy Denney, and I'm the owner of Shine Light Therapy and Shine Light Yoga. I'm going to be doing a approximately 30-minute class today. Most of it will be on the floor. I am going to do some of it against a wall, which is why I'm in this kind of weird space. I don't typically recommend yoga on carpet, especially squishy carpet. But it will be okay. So if you're on carpet, that's fine. If you need to shuffle where you're at to get to a wall, that would be the most ideal. And it doesn't need to be a very huge wall space, just a small section of wall. If you don't have a wall, you can use a yoga block. If you don't have a yoga block, you can use a big, thick book like this. Some of the things on the wall you can really only do on the wall, but you can certainly modify it if you don't have a wall available. So without further ado, in 2 weeks, we're going to be meeting to do a meditation. And I'll just let you know right now that what I have planned is a really cool meditation about how we perceive work, the word work, how we define it, and what it makes us feel like. So if that interests you at all, join me in 2 weeks for that meditation here with the starters. So let's go ahead and get into child's pose to start. Hopefully you've had time to grab a block or get near a wall. Go ahead and you can either have your knees together if you want more support for your spine. If your spine is in a good place, then you can have a wider stance with the knees and allow the belly to bow through the middle. Bring your hands straight out. Give yourself some grace if it takes you a while to get into this posture. Sometimes this sticky shoulder I have doesn't want to comply. Just remember that my words are just suggestions. So if your body is telling you something, give yourself some grace and maybe change what you're doing. Maybe don't do that posture. So just remember that this is your practice. You can bring your head to the mat. If you do have that block, you might be able to use the block to raise your mat a little bit and rest your forehead on it, or you can use your block underneath or between your legs. So let's go ahead and stretch the arms out long and just give your spine a second to stretch out and allow your hips to sink or melt towards your heels. Start to notice your breath. We're going to take 3 really intentional breaths together. So on your next exhale, go ahead and from your belly, just fill up with air. And at the top of the breath, see if you can just get a little bit more of a sip of breath. Nice and full, and then go ahead and let that go. And as you let the breath go, let the body surrender down. Inhale, nice and big through the nostrils if you're able. Exhale, compress the belly. One last really intentional breath. Inhale, just inviting in peace. And exhale, any tension. Good. When you're ready to move, we're just going to walk the hands over to the left for a side body stretch. Maybe you want to bring your right palm on top of the left if that feels okay for you. And just imagine that there's a sandbag or something really heavy on your right hip, gluing that hip down as you reach the right fingertips a little bit longer. And as you breathe, inhaling through that right lung, opening up through the ribs. Stay for the exhale, and then go ahead and walk your hands through the middle and coming over to the right side. Again, you can place your left hand on top of the right, or it can be off to the side, whatever feels good for you. See if you can elongate the stretch through the left side body. And as you do, just inviting all the air into your left side. Feeling the intercostal muscles to stretch and surrender. Good, bringing the hands back to center. We're gonna come onto our tummies. So go ahead and lower however you need to get there. And you can bring the hands one on top of another, just pillow them and drop your head. So if any point in time this posture doesn't feel good for you, just come back to this rest and reset. And just join back in whenever it feels good for you. We're going to do a locust pose. So what we're going to do is lift the legs first. So you can keep the head down or just slightly lifted as you reach the legs up, squeezing through the glutes, bringing the legs high so that just the hips are pressing into the mat. Continuing that nice long deep breath. One more full breath here. And then releasing the feet and the head back down to the mat. Let every muscle go. This time, if you want to, you can add the hands. You can bring the hands straight out in front if that feels comfortable for you. Lifting the legs. See if you can really reach the chest up and open. So you're opening up your heart to the front of the mat, gaze is forward, feet are lifted. If this is too much, just lower the hands. Stay for one more breath. Good, and then just release back down. This time, a different variation, if you want to try, is to lift the feet and then bring the arms alongside the body. Palms are down, pinky fingers are by the legs, and then reaching the hands back as if you're going to grab or touch the toes. Your shoulders are coming down and together on the back body, and you're really reaching the heart up in space. Just being mindful that you're holding the posture, but not the breath. And as you breathe, you may rock a little bit. Maybe just telling your muscles just to kind of rest into this posture, even though there's a lot of tension going on. Just telling them, it's safe here. Breath is holding you in this posture. Good. One more breath. Excellent. And then bring your hands down, your head down to your hands. We're going to reach this left arm out long, and then we're just going to roll onto our side. And we're going to use this left arm as a pillow for our head, coming into a side Shavasana. So bring the knees into a fetal pose. Your right hand can be anywhere that feels comfortable. And then just reset here. Take a couple of breaths and find the rest, the rhythm of grace in between the movement, the stretching, the tension. Good. Allow yourself one more deep breath here. And if it feels cozy, just stay. Maybe this is where you need to be for the rest of the practice. Or you can roll onto your back and join me in fish posture. So in this posture, you're going to be supported on our back body. I'm going to bring my hands kind of like this, thumbs together, and I'm going to slide my fingers to the outside edges of the back side of my pelvis. Toes are pointed and the legs are glued together. We're just going to walk the elbows toward one another underneath the body, lifting up the heart toward the heavens. And then just be careful that you're not compressing the neck down, but that you're lifting and keeping the spine in alignment. So the gaze can be up. You can also bring the gaze kind of to the crack on the wall of the ceiling behind you, if that feels okay. Just being mindful about the neck. And again, we're holding the posture, but not the breath. Breathe through it. So you can lift that heart a little bit more, maybe squeezing the elbows, walking them a little closer if there's some space there. Being mindful of the cervical vertebrae. Good. Stay for the exhale here. And then to come out of it, bring your gaze back up. And then we're going to walk those elbows out, lay on the back, reach the right hand up and over, and come to that side Shavasana on the right side. So use your arm as a pillow. Bring those knees up as much as feels comfortable. Let your left arm just be heavy and restful. Maybe taking a moment to unclench your jaw or find any places of tension and just let go. Good. When you're ready, we're going to come onto all fours into table on our knees and hands. If you have wrist issues, you can always come to the fists, or sometimes tenting the fingers feels good. Bring your knees underneath your hips, the bones of your hips, the wrists underneath your shoulders. Find that nice neutral spine where there's just a gentle sway in the low back. Press your hands into the mat firmly, almost as if you're going to open a jar. You're sort of externally rotating the arms, but not hyper extending them. Your eyes of your elbows are toward the front of the mat. Just find some grounding in this posture. Tops of the feet maybe pressing into the mat a little bit, starting to hug muscle to bone. We're just going to go through some cat-cow cycles together. Maybe as we reach the heart forward for cow, we think of things this week that we're hopeful about, things that give us excitement. And as we round into cat, just coming into that posture of self-care and surrender, reminding ourselves this week just to be gentle. So on your next exhale, go ahead and lift your tail as you hammock your belly, press the heart forward and lift the crown up, finding that space of hope. And then as you exhale, finding that cat-like back, tipping the pelvis down, chin comes to collarbone, thinking of self-care. Well, we work that in as we create a lot of space between each vertebrae here. Inhale, find cow, find hope, and exhale, coming into cat. So just working with your breath as you work with your expectations. Just pausing to be mindful about your schedule that just kind of sets ahead of you this week. Finding some intention in the way that you view it, the way you view your time, what's coming. Protecting space and having fun, finding that balance. Good. One more full breath. When you finish that up, coming back to neutral. We're going to come into a posture called turtle. So I'm just going to walk my hands up a little bit and drop the forearms down to the mat. I'm going to place the palms of my hands together. So I'm squeezing the palms together, and then I'm just going to fold my thumbs one on top of another. I'm going to drop my head down to the mat so that my forehead is on the mat. You can use a block if your head doesn't quite reach. And in this posture, we're going to focus on some strength and some grounding. So maybe pressing down through the tops of the feet and then pressing down through the forearms, all the places that are meeting the mat. Just find some strength here, pressing and hugging the muscles downward, contracting, breathing through the strength of this simple little posture. And if your muscles quake a little bit, that's totally okay. Good, release, but stay right here and find the rest. And then press down once more, finding that rhythm of strength and rest. Good, release. And then reach the head up, walk the hands back, swing those legs out in front of you. We're going to come into staff pose, very similar concept that we just did in turtle. So the feet are straight out in front of you. You can have a micro bend in the knees. Your feet are gently flexed. Hands are alongside the body. We're just going to inhale, press down through the mat. Nice tall spine, finding strength in this posture. So hugging the arm muscles to the bone, digging the heels into the mat, and then release. And then press down. Good, and then release. One more time, pressing down. And then release. Okay, so this is where we're going to move to the wall. So if you need to pick up your mat and run it alongside the wall, you'll want it to come out perpendicular to the wall. So making a T. I'm actually going to pick up my computer and move it. I'm sorry. Hopefully this isn't nauseating so that you can see me at the wall here. Sorry about the weird shapes on the wall. The first thing we're going to do is come about 18 inches to 2 feet from the wall. So there's some space between us and the wall. Almost like you're going to make a 90-degree angle with your legs, kind of like that table, but lifted up onto the wall. Good. Your hands can be alongside the body. We're just going to find grounding in this posture. So pressing down through the four corners of the feet, really engaging the legs. And see if you can drop your belly down from the belly button so that your spine is flat on the floor or your mat. So this might lift your tailbone slightly as you drop the spine down, pressing through the feet. Good. And now let's rock our tailbone down to touch the mat. So creating a little bit of space at the low part of the spine, just tilting our pelvis forward. Just noticing how that feels different, being curious about it. So go ahead, drop the spine back down, contracting the belly button toward the spine, and then rock the pelvis forward. So almost like cat-cow with the low part of the spine. Good. We're going to do eagle on the wall next. So just bring that right foot to about the middle of the wall, between your hips, and then cross your left leg over. You can just cross it like this. If you have more and you're able to wrap your left foot around, you can do that, but you can just have it crossed like this. We're going to bring our arms up and wrap our left arm underneath our right arm. Maybe the backs of your hands touch, maybe palms touch. Go ahead and wrap your arms and then pull your elbows up in line with the shoulders. If you're reaching your elbows away from the body, see if you can squeeze the back side of the shoulders together. Good. Lifting the elbows up in line with the shoulders. Squeezing the shoulders together, maybe pressing through the feet on the wall if that feels okay. A lot of stuff going on, remembering not to hold the breath, but let the breath be your guide. Good, and switch sides. So this time, left foot center, wrap the right leg over. Again, you can find your edge. Maybe you just cross. Maybe you wrap that foot all the way around. Maybe you notice this side is totally different than the other. There's no wrapping on the other side for me, but on this side, I can. So just listening to your body. And then with the arms, wrapping right arm underneath left. Bringing the elbows up, but squeezing the shoulder blades together on the back. Gaze right at that fold between the arms, the forearms right above your eyes. Find your breath. Good, one more breath here. Awesome, release that down. And then we're going to come into legs up the wall, which is one of my favorite postures. So if you don't have a wall, but you have that block, you want to have your block or your book be right underneath your sacrum. So it's going to be right underneath that flat part of the back side of your body. So if you have a wall, get your hips all the way up to and touching the wall. So that's how we're going to come into this pose. We're going to lay our body down and then flip these legs up. So you actually want to have your tailbone touching the wall. That's how close you want to be. It is tight. If you can't get it that tight, it could be bad for your back. So you might need to wiggle up or try the book or the block. But once you're here, just gently flexing your feet. Maybe you want to bring your arms straight up, reach towards your toes, and then let your shoulders relax back down into the socket. The back side of the shoulder blades are just gently resting on the floor. Maybe release the wrists, the fingers, and just enjoy gravity here. Legs up a wall is a wonderful posture for people who are on their feet a lot. It helps recirculate the blood. It tends to pool in the feet and in the ankles when we're on our feet a lot. It also rejuvenates because of that circulation. And it brings life back where it feels like we have no life, right? Like it's just, we're tired, we're worn down. And this just helps re-oxygenate, recirculate, but it's also very restful and soothing at the same time. One of the mysteries of the body, I think. I think I could stay here all night. If you like this, maybe this is a good final resting pose for you today, but we're going to come out of it for now. So just bring your feet to the wall and shift your hips over and sit yourself back up. And I'm going to move this one more time. Again, I apologize. Hopefully that worked okay. It's a lot different trying to do it virtually. And then we're going to come onto our backs on our mat. See, I need to adjust that. Sorry. Okay. So from your back, we're going to come into bridge pose. So bringing your heels in, toes are pointed straight out, feet are parallel to one another. We're just going to lift the hips up. Your hands can be alongside, or maybe you want to interlace the fingers, but make sure that you're bringing the shoulder blades together on the back. So you really want to open up the heart here. And then maybe if you want, you can interlace those fingers and start to press the pinkies down to the mat. So using this as a heart opener, being mindful about your legs as well, keeping the knees in line with the feet. Maybe seeing if you can lift the hips a little higher, release the glutes, and press the fingers down. Good. Let's just take one more really good breath here. Release the hands if they're interlaced, and then drop the spine one vertebrae at a time as you come down to the mat, hugging the knees in, maybe rocking from side to side. Rocking, especially when you add the head, just tells your central nervous system that you're safe. Just like rocking a baby feels safe for a baby, the same thing can be said about us bigger babies, right? It just feels safe. It feels comforting. It's a great way to end your practice. Well, let's go ahead and do a couple of cool downs. So let's bring the legs up and 90-degree angle, drop the knees down to the right. We're gonna come into a supine twist. So your left arm can be out to a T. Maybe you gaze over your left shoulder. And find that big lengthening breath through the left side body. Excellent. And then let's switch sides. So bring your knees back up through center, drop them down to the left. Right arm can come out to a T. Maybe you gaze over your left shoulder. Maybe you use your left hand to, your right shoulder. Maybe you use your left hand to pull yourself into a deeper twist here, or add a little bit of weight to your leg. So whatever feels good for you. Twist can also have that reoxygenation of the blood, just twisting it out, letting old lymph out, new in. Good, and then bringing the knees back to center, hugging them in before you come into your final resting pose. So maybe, like I said, that's legs up the wall for you if you liked that, or perhaps you want to come into corpse pose. If you have low back issues, bring your knees or your feet onto your mat and then let your knees just fall together like so. Your arms, palms up, can be really cozy. Let your shoulders come out of your ears. Pick up your head and just gently, ever so gently, tip your chin down. Close the eyes. I'm going to read a little meditation as you just find this rest. And when I'm done and the video is over, if you want to stay in this posture and just find your rest here, stay as long as you want. I actually read this on the internet today. It's a woman from Georgia who posted this story about herself. I don't know her, but it really was just tender and sweet and compassionate. And I thought it would be great just to close out our practice. So she writes, on October 6th, I got up from a very restless night. I had not slept well and I had a lot on my mind and on my heart. I took Mason to school. I was pulling down my street when I noticed this little guy in the road, and she has a picture of a cardinal bird. I pulled to the side of him, thinking he would fly away as my car approached. As I went by, I noticed he did not move. I looked in my side view and he was still there. I pulled my car over and started walking toward him. As I walked, I expected him either to fly or at least start struggling to get away. He did not move. I walked straight to him and picked him up. He never attempted to struggle from me. As you can tell by the pictures, I did not have to restrain him at all. I examined him and saw no sign of injury, yet I knew something was not right. I pulled him close to my heart and began to gently pet him. I decided I would take him to the CNC. They help a lot of wildlife. It would be a couple hours before they opened. As I continued to hold him, there was an immediate bond. He would look me right in the eye, put his beak to my nose. I was finally able to take him to the CNC. Unfortunately for this little guy, they do not take songbirds, only birds of prey. However, they were kind enough to examine him. Upon examination, they were able to determine he had broken his clavicle. They told me, like humans, it's very painful for the birds. They thought he might be hit by a car. They recommended a place to take him. It was located in Decatur, which was going to take a little over an hour one way with traffic. I had a full day and did not know how I could do it. As I sat in the car trying to decide what I was going to do, he sang. I stopped my thought process and looked down at him. He was looking at me from the little box I had him in. As I continued to look at him, he let out a couple more little notes. Tears began to fill my eyes. Here this tiny creature was in pain with a broken clavicle, and yet he still sang. I sat there for a few minutes just looking at him. I reached over and gave him a gentle stroke on his head and said, "Thank you, little guy." I called Seth and asked him to reschedule all my meetings for the day. I called the Songbird place, and a wonderful human by the name of Nancy told me to bring him in. I took off. When we arrived, Nancy examined him and confirmed he had a broken clavicle, but also that his air sacs were full and needed to be released. She explained to me the process and told me he had a 3 to 4 week recovery ahead. She let me know that some make it and some do not because of the uncertainty of what he may have going on internally due to being hit. She also informed me that if he did make it, then at the end of his recovery, he would need to be released where I found him. Cardinals generally have a family. He has a rough road. There were a couple of times that she wasn't sure if he was going to make it, as he had stopped eating a few times, but he pushed through. I am able to pick him up on Monday to release him back to nature. I share this experience with you because the little bird reminded me that we can still sing even when we are struggling. When we are struggling and in pain, we can still make a difference. He reminded me that every living thing is significant, no matter what. If it has life, it deserves love. It is a birthright. He reminded me to stop, take it slow, and always, always let love lead. On a day when I was struggling with some pretty heavy things, he reminded me to sing. Be blessed. Thanks for joining me.